Okay, I'm just going to give it a couple of minutes to make sure anybody that wants to come in has gotten in, and we'll start at, I don't know, just another maybe minute and a half. The session today is building, it's going to be building call deflection. We'll focus on shifting users from the IVR and from the IVR queue where they're headed ultimately for a live agent, and move them over to a digital channel, a chatbot or a messaging channel where we can engage them maybe first in an automated dialogue if they haven't already had the automated dialogue, and then from there capitalize on some of the efficiencies that chat or text with a live agent offers as well. Once we understand the efficiencies to be gained and the value in that, we can move on and show you how the Inference Studio enables a solution like that. Matt Bangy's on here. He's our head of sales, solutions engineering, and he'll be able to show you a demonstration of something that works today and then how that was built. If there are any questions or comments, please put them in the Q&A section, and I'll be happy to answer as they show up. Okay, just about time. I'll get started now. Matt, are you there? And if you're there, can you tell me just to verify you see the screen?
Yep, looks good, Cliff.
Thank you. Okay, so in a nutshell, and I kind of went over some of this morning in the keynote speech, there's a balancing act that ends up having to happen here, right? We would like to meet customers' expectations, and customers' expectations regarding brand engagement run up over and over as time goes by. You know, enterprises are engaging with their customers more frequently than ever. Telephone is not going away, even though some in the digital space like to believe it's going away based on the rapid growth of digital engagement. The phone's still not going away. It's kind of maintaining its volume of engagement. And what we're seeing is really just something of a changing role. Maybe it's generational. Somebody of an older generation or of a specific personality type might like or prefer phone first. And in that case, you'll find them there. But it doesn't mean they want to necessarily stay there or that they'll engage with you in that channel all the time, and certainly may not be the preferred channel. It could be that moving into a digital channel is preferred even, right? And then on the business side of things, the balance for that is, how do we automate those channels? How do we optimize those channels? Ultimately, the challenge here is, how do we reduce overhead to the enterprise and at the same time meet the customer's expectations? So you see here, we started in the early 70s with DTMF and the IVR, and it was, pretty earth-shattering and new stuff, and people thought it was great, and ultimately that kind of progressed, right? As technology changed, we moved all the way up into 2016 when we started to put NLU in the IVR, and it's a huge benefit and a big change. At the same time, the next generation of technology stepped in at around 2016, and we started to see digital channels come into play. And we'd like to talk about this in the context of being omni-channel, right? We're not talking about siloed channels or multi-channel solutions where they are available but unknown to one another, or there's no context carried between them. The ideal solution is something that's multiple channels that are aware of one another, and a user's journey can be carried across channel and time together to give one holistic view of the user and how they like to engage and how they have engaged, right? We want to personalize those experiences. We can be proactive in our engagement. We can, there's all sorts of automation and then consequently analytics on the back end of that for the business to continue to grow and refine the experience. So that's the direction we're running in. If we can start to move people, customers, into that digital engagement channel more, there's a huge value in doing so, right? A digital channel against an automated agent would give you maybe an 80 to 90% cost savings in the contact center. At the same time, even if you're moving a caller or someone who's messaging to a live agent, but doing so through the digital channel, That same live agent that can only manage one call at a time obviously can manage somewhere between, say, on average, 4 to 6 digital engagements or chats at a time. So the efficiencies are really exceptional. We're seeing huge amounts of growth. I covered this morning. Customer engagement in just the past year over messaging channels has grown over 100%. Certain channels are preferred in different markets more strongly. And we see, obviously, WhatsApp in Africa is exceptionally strong throughout the continent. And we've got really strong integrations into that. And then, of course, the analysis of that data that comes in is super important to the business. So here we start to talk about that the ability to deliver the experience that the customer is wanting while creating efficiency and reducing overhead. So here's the use case we're going to talk about today, right? We want to meet the customers in the IVR because traditionally a lot of them are coming in through that door. So if we can identify and authenticate a user where authentication is necessary, we can personalize the experience to them in the IVR. At that point, we can offer the caller the options to continue their engagement through any one of a variety of channels. And they may not even be aware of the fact that we offer digital, even if they prefer it, right? So the brand may offer a digital engagement, totally unknown or not published widely to the user community that comes into the brand. They call out of habit or just because they think it's the only option available. And it's here at this time that we can expose the convenience of a digital channel to them and offer them that option. And then we deliver them the best customer experience we can in that channel. Doing all this and at the same time, again, reducing the overhead. So if we do it properly, we do exactly this. We've changed our customer experience to be elevated from where it may have been to start, improve the customer satisfaction, gain data for analytics, and start to crush our costs in the contact center. So here's we're going to talk about how it gets done, right? Problems with today's builds can be costly. That cost comes out of a combination of things, including complexity. And ultimately, there's a problem when it's complex around getting things to market quickly. And so your speed of deployment suffers as well. So current implementations really do have these problems. And if we're still going with an on-prem platform, there's a whole another group of overhead and barriers to get past before we have new solutions. We at Inference Solutions have combat that with our approach, right? We have an intelligent virtual agent that's developed through a drag and drop, no code, low code environment. We're not a core AI engine provider. That's by design. We've decided instead that companies are starting to form alliances or preferences with who they work with. They may have already developed data models and invested heavily in that and want to leverage that. So instead of being a core provider, we integrate into any one of the kind of major or existing AI platforms. Off the top of my head, we've got a default dialogue flow integration. We have IBM Watson integrations. We have Amazon integrations and Microsoft integrations for AI. And then in certain cases, we'll put in niche providers for things like NLU. We had a use case in Kenya where we couldn't find the language that we needed supported in any of the 4 major engines. And so we went out and picked a niche provider that could help us with that. So we do have the ability to add that flexibility in. So really, as it says in the bottom here, our focus is providing a choice in a rapidly changing ecosystem. We solve the fulfillment problem. Okay, next I'm going to introduce Matt. Matt Bangi, as I had suggested, is our head solutions engineer, and he's going to walk through a demonstration of a transfer or a channel shift from IVR into a digital channel. And then he's going to show you how that was built inside the studio environment. So Matt, I'm going to stop sharing and turn that over to you.
All right, Cliff, you See this okay?
Yep, gotcha.
Okay, awesome. So what we're going to talk about today is really, as Cliff had spoken through earlier, is a shift in channel. So the initial interaction starts in the voice channel, moves to potentially an SMS engagement. But in this particular use case, we're going to shift from SMS to an alternative channel, which would be WhatsApp. So in the example, we'll show a migration between not only the voice and a digital channel, but even between or across the individual digital channels as well. So a lot of power when it comes to migration and understanding the customer's journey. So I started in voice, moved to digital, and then I ultimately end up in the specific, in this example, will be a WhatsApp channel. So this environment that we're going to work out of is known as Studio. And what it does is it facilitates across channels. So just a quick second here, you can see if I mouse over tasks, when we talk about a task, you can think of, say, maybe like a legacy IVR script, or if you wanted to think about a live agent can do certain tasks, right? They can take a phone call, they can answer messages in individual digital channels. There's also a web channel, the web chat channel as well. So a virtual agent you can think of very simply as capable of similar things when compared to a live agent. So that's what you'll understand or come to understand when we talk about tasks. Just think about it in terms of a live agent. A live agent can do different tasks. They have different skills, multilingual. They can reset passwords. They can log tickets. All that kind of fun stuff is kind of the same terminology that we'll use as it relates to the intelligent virtual agents. So as Cliff had indicated, you want to look around for a solution that provides this kind of drag and drop, low to no code environment. Again, very intuitive look when it comes into potentially making quick changes. That's another problem that we see very often with a lot of the, say, like a point solution or an individual technology, is you subscribe to the technology and then have to build the solution around it, which prohibits that kind of speed to value in that particular in the market, or ongoing management and maintenance can be challenging when it comes to just sourcing individual technologies and stitching them together to make a solution. In this particular case, we're talking about a technology that runs all of those, or a solution that runs all of those technologies under the hood. So when you're talking about a digital channel, you can operate self-contained within the native capability in Studio, as well as integrate to any number of natural language engines. The one in which we see as kind of the overall leader right now is Google Dialogflow, but we've also done integrations to other natural language engines as well. So Amazon Lex, IBM Watson, Microsoft Azure, they're the Luis product as well. So we got a lot of flexibility when it comes to that. And if we don't have a canned integration, we have a really powerful tool known as the integration node. So that's another thing that you want to be on the lookout for, is flexibility and integration. If this solution can't do what I want it to do out of the box, can I manage it to the extent and build my own integrations, or do something that's relatively unique? And I think you'll see some of that flexibility come through as well. So I'll go ahead here and run through this demo, and then we'll kind of take a step back and break down what actually happened. So right now I'm just looking at the front side of the task, where we start in the voice channel, and then again I'll run through the demo and kind of walk you through step by step of what happened and where this call went. So I'll show you my cell phone here, and I'll just go ahead and make a phone call to this particular contact center.
Thank you for calling. You've reached our support desk. The time to speak to an agent is approximately 7 minutes. If you would like immediate assistance from an agent over a text channel, please press 1 or say text. If you would like a call back from... I see your mobile is +15132667225. Is it okay to use that number to send you a message?
Yes.
Please say your biometrics password after the beep.
Matt Bangy.
Thanks for calling. I'm sending you the message now.
All right, so there's my text message. So if we look here, now we're in the text channel. So, and we'll continue on here in just a second, but I want to let you know what you just saw. So in that particular solution, we also have capabilities for different levels of authentication. So we have voice biometrics in that particular example. So where we're comparing a particular user's voice print against the actual waveform that we have on file, secured in a secure environment in our particular architecture. So we use voice biometrics here, but there are also alternative methods of authentication, which you'll probably hear about as we move through the discussion today. But we can do out-of-band or multi-factor authentication in any number of fashion. So a lot of different capability when it comes to authenticating a given user. And so after the biometrics verification, we move on to check the user's phone number and then actually make a call, or trigger a particular event, which is the outbound SMS message here that I have on my cell phone.
So Matt, if I can interrupt you there, I think I wanted to kind of point out it's the way we did this, and it was somewhat interesting. Obviously, it was built to be specific, specific to a demonstration use case. What we could have done here you see that we'll send an SMS, and the SMS then has a link to open WhatsApp and use WhatsApp. We might just as easily have sent somebody a push message to WhatsApp using the HSM or the templated messages. We can do that, and we can immediately do an API dip to see if somebody's already already set up on WhatsApp. So we would know if the WhatsApp number existed or not. And you would have heard in the voice prompt, we gained opt-in by asking, is it okay to send you a message to that phone number? So we've got our opt-in, which is important. And then we could have looked up and sent specifically or directly to WhatsApp. But we don't necessarily have to do that. And some people, even if they have WhatsApp, might prefer to use that only for one kind of an experience or one use case and not another. Maybe they only want it for personal stuff, not business, etc. And we also know that SMS avails itself to different sets of uses than WhatsApp might. So while it seems a little awkward to have sent a WhatsApp link in SMS, it does satisfy a couple of things. In the demonstration world in particular, it shows the capability to send and interact in either digital channel. That's important for this demonstration. More importantly, here, the user could reply to the SMS and engage in SMS for an unsecure dialogue if that's their preference, or they can click on the WhatsApp link and bring themselves to a secure channel that's more capable, specifically capable in the sense of being able to do things like file transfer and rich media transfer, etc. So I just wanted to kind of justify the link sending, WhatsApp within an SMS. It was for multiple purposes and should be able to demonstrate the idea that either or any channel is capable, and or we're capable of using either and any channel, and we can intermix these and then allow the user the choice of picking the channel that's best for them at the same time. So Matt, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just wanted to offer a little background on that.
No, I think that's great, Cliff. And a key point there is that you kind of hit on there at the end was you want to engage your users, your customer base in the channel of their choice, right? So they've already selected a digital channel based on, from the voice side. Hey, is it okay if we send you an SMS or if we engage in the digital channel? This way of engagement that we're showing right now allows the user to say, everybody has SMS on their phone, right? But maybe not everybody has WhatsApp, or say maybe for some reason or another, the WhatsApp check failed, like if we were going to check that beforehand. This method allows the user to engage in the channel in which they prefer. You're not forcing a particular channel to be used. You're allowing the customer to choose, and that feels good. That's a feel good experience from a customer perspective, but then also you can engage in different manners based on the actual channel that's being triggered. So as Cliff said, SMS is obviously not secure. So the experience will be slightly different, or capability would be slightly different in the SMS channel versus, say, WhatsApp or a secure over-the-top messaging platform. So you can obviously you can do things in WhatsApp and feel better about the levels of security when using an over-the-top messaging service such as WhatsApp to be able to facilitate things like self-service banking or something to that extent. Whereas SMS is obviously an unsecured channel, and say a customer wanted to engage in a banking transaction, we will. That was the channel that is actively being used. But then you could alternatively ask, hey, I'm sorry that we can't engage, or there are different qualifiers, obviously, that you could offer from a user experience perspective. You could ultimately escalate to a live agent at that point if you were concerned about security, or if you wanted to roll the dice, or it was bordering the edge of, are we worried about it or are we not? You can engage in the way that you prefer. But I think that the two takeaways are the channel can dictate the level of capability in which you surface using the same or a very similar task and flow like you're looking at right now, as well as allowing the base or the person that is making contact with your intelligent virtual agent to engage with you and in your self-service platform in the channel of their choosing. So I think those are two kind of huge takeaways when it comes to making the selection or building these particular intelligent virtual agents in the self-service experience. So let's go ahead and jump forward in the demo. So in general, what I've done here is this individual node says, hey, I need you to call this particular messaging task, or I need you to do this thing, which is fire an SMS message to a particular phone number. And that phone number, for example, is made dynamic by using this reserve variable that we have as Annie. You can also create your own variables as you go. So as long as you have points of interest in relation to your application, you could save them as variables, use them in the flow, log and report on them for later to kind of get a high level look at what the user's experience was, what their journey was through these channels. So I'll go ahead and move forward and click this link, and that's going to open a WhatsApp session. In this particular, in this example, we need to initiate this contact just by saying something like hello. In a live use case, where as we all know, WhatsApp is very particular about how outbound contacts are made, we would have or potentially facilitate that initial, hi, this is your virtual agent, how can I help you kind of thing. But in this particular demonstration, again, we're going to recognize this caller, and I've initiated it by just making that initial contact. So now I know that it's okay to engage with this customer. I don't have to worry about any rules of the road when it relates to WhatsApp. So I'll just authenticate myself by using my PIN. And I think, real quickly, 34567 is my PIN. So this next example this uses natural language, but it surfaces itself in a way that might be better for the digital channel. Again, this talks to the experience of which channel you're using. So WhatsApp versus SMS, this initial contact or how can I help you type of greeting would potentially change, could potentially change. So here we are giving the member or the user a selection of, here are the options that you could take. I think Cliff, you got anything to add on this particular example?
Yeah, sure. So this demonstration was built specifically for an African opportunity. What we're really trying to do here, even though it's natural language capable, and we could have left it as open dialogue and simply said, "Hi, how can we help you today?" We understand many of the users that are engaging the brand happen to have experience using USSD, and it's a very menu-driven interface. And so what we're trying to do here is transition users, make them more acclimated to a language experience and move them away from a purely menu-driven experience. So we present it as a numeric menu. You could have responded to, Matt could respond to this menu by just putting in a menu number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or he could simply use natural language and put in something like, I'd like a statement, please, or statement, please, or something like this, and it'll respond the same way. But at least the user doesn't have any particular problem understanding how it'll work or making themselves familiar with the experience. It's a great transition from USSD into WhatsApp, and it keeps it half familiar while still branching into expanded capabilities that are enabled through NLU implementations. I also like the idea that with only a limited number of capabilities being offered in the channel, if you left it as purely open dialogue, you may run into the idea of responding to the user too frequently with, "I'm sorry, I can't help you with that. Is there something else you'd like?" It just becomes frustrating and degrades the experience for the user as opposed to enhancing it. So this was our middle ground, meant to transition a USSD friendly environment to something NLU enabled.
Very good point. All right. So as Cliff had said, I could respond with the number 3 member statement or something as it relates to an actual statement. So I'll go ahead here and say, would you like to receive an email or WhatsApp? In this use case, I'll just say WhatsApp. So here's your particular statement. We can send documents, images, etc. Via the WhatsApp integration that we have. And then I can say, can I help you with anything else? And I'll just say no to end this particular interaction. So that will basically terminate the session, and you can maintain context thereafter, right? So if somebody calls back in or re-engages in the digital channel, you could look and say, "Hey, do I recognize this interaction? Has this user interacted with the platform in the last 24 hours? And what did they do?" So you could potentially have context and greet the caller not only at the very beginning and say, "Hey, Matt, I need to authenticate you," but you could greet them and say, "Hey, Matt, you came by earlier today asking about your membership statement. Was there something wrong, or how did that work out for you?" Basically, having that user interaction and that context to make it more personalized. You could choose to use it in that way, or just simply log these interactions and report and analyze them thereafter. So entirely up to the design of the task and the solution, but just something that we've done in the past that is quite easy to surface is maintaining or understanding the particular context. Again, for this example, we've just kind of said, I'm finished, but you could also follow up with something like, "Hey, just as a reminder, next time I can do other things like X, Y, or Z." So a nice solid way to end the interaction is by obviously thanking them for their time, and then if you wanted to make sure that they understood the capability of that particular digital channel, you can follow on and say, just a reminder, we can do this other stuff next time you engage with us.
Matt, while we're talking about that, and since we're in studio, do you think you could show, the idea that we obviously understand everything that's happening in channel, and we talk about being able to pick up context of a conversation over a period of time, even after a virtual session closes. Can you show the integration or how an integration might be put together to take that information and push it up into like a CRM?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure thing. So what I do want to show is, right now we're looking at the digital side of the task. So we need to migrate to the messaging to take a look at the more granular, meat and potatoes of this particular interaction. So in this example, you're seeing, hey, these are a list of tasks that I have in my particular environment. So in production, you would have probably a smaller list of this. This is obviously a kind of a sandbox in which we play. So I'll go ahead and say I need, what was this is a sin. What's that? This one. This is the one that we need. Okay. So this is the logic as it pertains to the digital channels. So we're using natural language. You can see here, do NLP. We're using here as well to actually figure out what the user needs to do, and identifying those intents and then driving the subsequent behavior correctly. So if we look here, and this is where we're starting to talk about integration. This is our integration to Dialogflow, and something that I think we're probably pretty proud of, but something that you need to think about as well when you're trying to figure out how to put these solutions together is where or how do you want to use natural language? Do you need natural language at all? So in this particular example, if you're familiar with Dialogflow, there are two kind of key pieces of information. As long as we have the project ID and service account of that particular natural language agent, we can integrate. So these two pieces of information. You don't need to be a data scientist to understand what is necessary here. Very easy to pull this integration in. As a matter of fact, let's just go ahead and maybe transition real quick and take a look. Here's my actual Dialogflow agent. And you can see here's the project ID. And if I click on the project ID within some of the actual service account management windows or options in there, you can actually pull down this particular service account identifier. So it's literally a point and click activity to get this integration going. And when we talk about other integrations, when it comes to, like, say, CRM or a ticketing system like ServiceNow and Salesforce, Zendesk, Zoho, all that that kind of suite of products. Those integrations look very similar to this, other than these two pieces of information. This changes slightly, which I'll show you here in a bit, but you can check this integration as well, which is a really nice development tool. And you can say things like, I'll just say member statement. And I can go ahead and preview my integration. And you can see here where the member integration is the actual query. And then what was the intent? The intent was membership statement. How confident am I in that particular match from a natural language perspective? In this use case, you're about 50% confident. And this score, that confidence score, goes up as more training data is ingested. So if you wanted to, say, pull over that variable, so intent, detection, confidence, we can save it as an XPath variable and use it to either make decisions or provide the correct response to that particular intent that was detected. So where we found this incredibly useful is we use Dialogflow, or a natural language engine, to do what it does best, and that is identify intents, parse out entities, do natural language processing and natural language understanding. Where we see those solutions start to kind of fall down or become more difficult to manage is on the next step, right? What do we do with that information? How do we use that to our advantage to drive subsequent interactions? There is capability within those engines to do it. However, it's very difficult to manage, and it's not a low code or no code environment. It's very much code based. So what we do is, again, we allow the natural language engine to do what it's made for, and then you allow Studio, or the solution that you choose, to make the subsequent decisions based on the inputs and results thereafter.
Matt, just a quick comment on that. I think it's also important to know when you're working in, specifically if you're working with Inference Studio from 5.9, the license for not only is it technically embedded within the product, but the licensing for Dialogflow or the AI engine that is used is inherent in the pricing. There's no extra licensing. You don't have to bring anything separate. It's all supplied for you and part and parcel of the package. That being said, if a customer of an enterprise or an entity has a model that's already built and it sits within maybe a Dialogflow account that they would like to just continue to leverage, we can also use that.
Yeah, I think that's a great point for sure. So as I was speaking to earlier, we have the Dialogflow integration, but then also the integration node, which is what we've found from a historic perspective and customer feedback is this is probably one of the most, or if not the most exciting / powerful tool that we have in the arsenal. So there's a lot of flexibility in the integration node. As you can see, it's GUI based, so you don't need to understand. Well, you don't need to understand how to code. You need to understand, obviously, where to put the right parameters and how to authenticate. But in general, it's a very similar look and feel to that Dialogflow node that we had. And you want to look for, again, this flexibility in how we integrate. So we can do these standard HTTP methods, but then you can also say if you needed to post something as raw data, you can actually just go ahead and drop your JSON or your particular integration parameters in here in a fashion that you are used to, and make the integration that way. And the other interesting thing is, we can both look at this from the return values as both arrays and in XML format. So don't let this preview XML format kind of fool you. If the API returns JSON, we indeed do ingest it as JSON. So flexibility to do integration with all sorts of different methods, obviously supporting JSON and XML, and then even in some edge use cases, we even support SOAP web services. So there's a lot of flexibility in this integration node, and basically, if you can't find out, or if we don't have anything pre-built as far as kind of a connector, the integration node is honestly is kind of the Swiss Army knife when it comes to making those integrations. And that's the integration is key to self-service, right? So if you want to allow somebody to come in and take action as it relates to their specific account or their relationship with a particular with your business, integration is key, and the tools to integrate are key as well. So how easy or how flexible is the solution to integrate with third-party apps? The platform that we talk about is, as Cliff alluded to, is a platform that's meant to integrate. So it's built on integration and for integration. So as Cliff had spoken earlier, we have all these different services that run under the hood that we manage those relationships with the underlying engine provider that you don't need to worry about. You just kind of you select which engine or the particular solution that is best for your application, and then we take care of the rest.
And speaking of Matt, I'm not sure where you're going next, but as we went through this, just looking at Studio in particular, there are some, I guess, what we'd consider canned integrations into major services or specific services. So, while it wasn't part of the demonstration, I'd be remiss if we didn't bother to mention the fact that we do work in very secure and regulatory compliant environments. We can even provide pre-canned payment gateway solutions. So if you like to enable transactional commerce through an engagement with a customer, maybe a customer calls and says, "Hey, I'm whatever." Maybe it's retail and they want to place an order. Maybe it's a service provider and they want to catch up on their utility bill or their internet service or something like this, and make a payment for something that was past due. Any of those things are drag and drop capable into these flows, and it really is as simple as what you see here.
So you can see here is again, this is a sandbox environment. So the examples that we have right here are some demo test gateways as well as authorized.net. But we have 13, maybe 14 different and usually we'll integrate at least one or two a quarter. And obviously as business needs and requirements resolve, they come in ad hoc as well. So that library tends to grow, and we're very familiar with doing that integration, right? So the requirements as it relates to that and maintaining security and PCI compliance, that's another thing that we carry. We certify that and have an attestation of compliance that's renewed on a yearly basis. So that I think that's actually coming due here in April. So it's about evaluation time for us again, but that's a compliance that we've carried for multiple years, and with kind of no break in that compliance. So in general, something that we're very familiar with to do the integration and the requirements that are associated. And as you saw, it's very easy to say, "Oh, I want to go over here to my navigation pane, and I want to add this payment gateway, this payment service. What are the details of that particular payment gateway? So I want to do authorized.net integration. Where do I get my amount?" Right. So maybe that's my account number. These are variables, right? So what's the token ID? Maybe that's the account reply. And then do I have a reference ID? We'll just say the reference ID is Dinas in this particular example. So, and these options can change as it relates to the particular gateway's capabilities. So, that's part of the effort that our team undertakes, is making sure when these integrations do happen and do occur, that the payment the payment gateway's capabilities are surfaced in a way that are easily accessible and convenient to the individual user or administrator of the platform. All right. So in that regard, we'll talk about some other different things that I think are probably important. We can go ahead and talk about the task library. So again, the kind of speed to solution delivery or speed to value is something that is incredibly important when you talk about these solutions. Lots of times we talk of there's an urgent demand for scaling, and say you have a new line of business in which you're supporting, or for some reason or another. Obviously, for example, coronavirus vaccines are huge right now, and supporting that call volume and fielding and providing the levels of customer service that is necessary to maintain the satisfaction scores that a particular contact center or a company would want to maintain is relatively impossible to scale fast enough to support and maintain those scorings. So how do you do that? You augment by using intelligent virtual agents, whether they are in the digital environment, operating on the digital tasks, or fielding voice calls, answering frequently asked questions, and solving those kind of lower level repeatable style engagements as it relates to that particular call volume in which you're trying to deflect or contain. So I think that the task library speaks to that capability very well. So if you had a new application or an imminent need, or even a need that was not anticipated, the task library allows the customer base to deliver a solution very quickly. And this grows on a quarterly basis at the very least. Sometimes the updates come out a bit faster, but in general, this is a living, breathing environment. So when you're looking for, again, when you're trying to figure out how to build or what solution to pick, you want to look for something that allows you to scale quickly and solve problems quickly or make changes quickly. And the task library is one of the tools that Five9 and Inference have at our end user customers' disposal to come in here, make a quick change, or add to the scope of your intelligent virtual agents capability. And potentially, obviously this depends, but this capability is available at no additional cost. Now, if you're trying to field additional call volume or handle additional interactions from the digital channels, you need to make sure that it's sized properly, right? Can we handle that actual volume? Do we have the necessary licensing in place to do that? But building the application is typically the hard part, and it's made a whole heck of a lot easier by the task library.
Yeah. I apologize for having looked away. Did you launch a task out of the library at all, Matt?
I have not.
Maybe it would be nice just to, send one up.
Okay.
I think the call deflection bit, we've run through the top to bottom of that in the studio environment and showed as much detail as we can. I think it should also be noted that we can take something like that task, replicate it for anybody that's here and is interested in using it as a base to start from, and it would be as easy as what you're going to see here in this library start. We would give you something that you could just double click in studio. It would open and give you the experience that we built for the demonstration, for the call deflection demonstration. And at that point, we could, you'd simply go in and custom tailor that to change your greetings and things like that. But it could be a very easy start.
Yeah, sure. I'll go ahead and I'll show the interaction from the voice side. And then
Sure.
Obviously the same thing can be done in the digital channels.
Yep.
So I'll go ahead here, and you can actually search the task library, or you can point and click and scroll. But let's just go ahead and say natural language call steering is what I wanted to do. I'm just going to go ahead and name the task workshop call steering. We're going to add a tag, so we're going to call it demo, but this is also another great way to understand what these individual tasks do. So we'll say maybe this is in production, or maybe it's in development. You can also lock these tasks. So if something is in production or it's being tested, you have the level of awareness that, hey, we shouldn't be touching this task because somebody else is working on it, or it's critical to the operation of the business. Another key point as it relates to, say, language support, we support 120 language variants. And as Cliff said earlier, we have some flexibility as it relates to, say, if for some reason or another that particular language variant wasn't supported, we would be able to pull in another engine to potentially solve for that use case. So obviously that discussion is an it depends, and we need the details type. But I think, again, the key takeaway is the flexibility and really the desire to solve for that individual problem and provide for a solution. So that's something that I think we do exceptionally well, is that flexibility answer. So we'll go ahead and in this particular use case, we'll choose US English. And under US English in particular, there are 30 different text-to-speech voices in which we can choose. So we have Google WaveNet, some Google standard voices, LumenVox and IBM Watson neural network voices under the hood, which are actually that the neural network voices are the newest release. I'll go ahead and show you the WaveNet voices. And again, these, we're always evaluating the engines that are in the market. What can we pull in to make for a better user experience? So again, that's something, say, if you liked a new release, it would be very simple to go in and say, oh, I want to go to my existing prompts. So this is a play prompt node, and go to my welcome here. And I want to say, instead of welcome to my company, you can say, welcome to our call steering demo. And I can actually preview the audio. I think I'm sharing my audio here, but we'll find out.
Welcome to our call steering demo.
Did that come through, Cliff?
Very clearly.
Okay, cool. Sometimes the share settings are a little unique, but so you can see there, I chose that individual language, but say you wanted to support a different language, say Spanish or French, something like that. I can go in here and want to choose this female voice from Spanish, or from this is European Spanish. We also have we can listen in I think over 10 variants of Spanish, right? So South or Central American versus European, and even down to specific countries, we can listen for those specific dialects as well. So you just simply go in here and you would type in your Spanish, and you'd be off to supporting that particular language. We can also support recorded audio files. So we'll just go ahead here and save that. And again, all I've done here in this example is I've changed the initial greeting. Everything else is straight from the task library.
Welcome to our call steering demo. How can I help you today?
Yeah, I need to speak to somebody about my bill.
Transferring you to the billing department. Please hold.
All right. So very simple interaction in this particular regard, but it's conversational in nature, and it kind of flattens that menu structure. And this, again, the same thing would happen on the digital side. Very similar look and feel. Do we are we finding that particular intent that was matched? Are we looking for a particular keyword, or was a particular number entry had, right? Was it a DTMF entry that we just got a 1 or a 2 on? So all of that capability, again, is contained under a virtual agent to be able to recognize those different forms of response. And obviously, depending upon that agent's skill level, you'd be able to take that response and do particular subsequent actions, or take subsequent actions accordingly. So the call steering example is something that is incredibly powerful, and especially if you have an auto attendant or a directed style engagement today from the menuing example, to be able to flatten that and just think about the user experience is incredibly more positive. Takes kind of a giant leap forward in allowing an individual to call in and just say what they want, and you can make the decision based on whatever that particular input was, to either self-serve or escalate to a particular live agent with that, with fielding messages in that particular queue, or if it needed to go to the voice channel, you could do that as well. So I think that's really important as we think about this, passing context not only between the virtual agent channels, but then also escalating to a live agent. What channel of the live agent do you want to go to? Does this require a live agent voice interaction, or can we solve this via chat? Or do we want to give the option to engage, again, in the channel of that particular user's choosing? All of that capability and flexibility exists in Studio in this particular environment, and something that seems to be relatively unique and difficult for sure to find in the market.
Great. Thanks for that, Matt. I really appreciate it. I think the idea that we can launch, multi-channel or omni-channel solutions within literally one click and a couple of fields configured in a form is really one of the things that sets us aside from anybody else. It's that speed of deployment resulting in speed to market, the inclusion of the drag and drop NLU nodes, and the inclusive licensing, the ability to simply jump in and start configuring right away and make this work and personalize to the given enterprise is really important. The call deflection task obviously is something that we showed up front. It was a little more, say, sprawling than what you see here. This is a relatively simple task, but even something as complex as that task can be simply saved and replicated as a template over and over, and then just modified later. So there's a lot of flexibility and a lot of efficiency to be had in using the studio environment. So, where call deflection does offer huge amounts of benefit to the organization by pulling a caller out of the IVR and offering them that option to move into a digital channel where they may be either better served or they simply prefer. The fastest way to get there, in our estimation, is a tool like Inference Studio. So call deflection is a winner for the organization in the efficiency it brings operationally. It's a winner for the consumer from the perspective of having the kind of interaction they'd like and the engagement they'd like in the channel that they would prefer. If you deliver things like file transfer to them or even just a specific message to them, it's something in the digital channel that they can keep and maintain as a record going forward. It doesn't just go away when they hang up or close a web chat. And at the same time, it can facilitate automated chat against chatbot and AI. So we can, we start with trying to approach a user's need through AI and bot activity. When it doesn't work, we can move them to a live agent. In either case, the digital channel is going to give you the greatest efficiency possible while meeting customers' expectation. So we didn't get any questions in the Q&A previously. If anybody has one, I really appreciate you put them in. I'm going to just share a screen here. We've got, we've got an offer for the offer that we have now is for a free access to Studio, no credit card, no obligation, nothing hidden here. It's really just about giving you the chance to experiment. So what you can do is sign up and register for the free account. We'll give you 2 free agents for a period of 2 weeks, and we can jump in and also give you access to one of the templates to start with. And should you need assistance and be ready to want to customize that, I'm happy to give you the assistance as well. So you have the contact here, the Inference Solutions. If you go to inferencesolutions.com, you'll be able to find the free trial and sign up for it. I would like to thank everybody that took the time to be a part of this, and thank Matt for his diligence and time in addressing everybody here. And I'd also like to give you my contact information should anybody want to contact me or reach out for anything at all going forward. You can use this number to contact me directly on WhatsApp, and I'm happy to respond accordingly. So thanks to everybody here. And Matt, thank you so much for your time and expertise. Really, really beneficial. I couldn't have done it without you. So thanks for everything.
Yeah, not a problem. I think that, just kind of one final point is, if you like what you see, Cliff definitely can show you the ropes, and we've got a whole slew of technical folks that can work you through maybe individual integration problems, or how might we do something. That's something that we like to do. And if you like the interface, just wait until you see Studio 7. So what you saw today is we're diligently working on user experience and user interface that improves upon the already nice intuitive nature of the platform. So just kind of a teaser of what's to come, throughout this year. But we're always working on improvements, and it will only get better over time.
All right. Thanks again, everybody. I think we're We just closed up the hour. So thanks again and have a great day. Enjoy the event. Bye-bye now.